Living longer, living healthier, living better than ever before. Welcome to Mountain Pacific's Healthy Living for Life, a weekly series that gives you the information, education, and expert insight you need to become an active participant in today's ever-changing healthcare climate. Here now is today's program host.
Free your mind and your body will follow. We've all heard this phrase before, but what does it really mean? On today's show, we'll find out because we're going to discuss how meditation and yoga can help improve flexibility and build muscle strength, all while lowering blood pressure and stress. Welcome to Healthy Living for Life, a show dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm Janet Whitmoyer, your host. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Our guest is Anna Bradley, a certified yoga instructor who's here to talk about meditation. Thanks for being with us, Anna.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start off with the basics. Can you tell us what is meditation?
Meditation is one practice that we can use to help us practice something called mindfulness. Mindfulness just means that we're paying attention on purpose without judgment to the present moment. And meditation is one of the ways that we can do that.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about what some of the benefits of meditation are?
You know, it's amazing. Back in 2005, there were maybe about 100 papers that had been published in scientific and clinical journals about the benefits of meditation. In 2013, there were over 1,500. Oh, wow. And by this time, I think that that's probably exponentially larger as well. And people have shown that there are positive effects on every level of our biology, our psychology, how we interact with other people. And there's been demonstrated positive differences in the brain scans of people who meditate versus people who don't. But you know, our attention improves, our regulations of emotions, our ability to perceive threats to our well-being accurately. All of that stuff can be improved with meditation, along with improving our relaxation response. So all of the benefits that come with relaxation.
Okay, so in some situations, can meditation help people as much or more or less than pharmaceutical drugs?
You know, I want to be really clear. I think that it's important people know that meditation and other mindfulness tools can be a useful part of their care routine, but people should stay on whatever care plan their doctors have prescribed them, and if that includes pharmaceuticals. No one should go off medications or even put off seeking treatment because of their intention to start a meditation practice. It's important that people continue to work with their care team. Meditation can just bolster the type of support that you have in your life.
Well, that's great. It's nice to know that there's all these different tools to help you with your common goal there. Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of meditation and how long it has been going on?
You know, meditation's been around for thousands of years. It's really nothing new, and it's actually not dissimilar from some forms of prayer. You know, anything where you set your mind on something and that's what you're focused on, that's a type of meditation. It's something that flourished in Asian countries, and we saw it moving into the West in the 1960s and 70s is when it really started to pick up popularity in places like the United States. But it's really, the concept of meditation is not unique or something that's just developed recently.
Okay, so actually moving into the process of meditation, how does somebody do that?
Yeah, you know, sometimes I think that it feels like this has to be a big mystical process, and that's simply not true. Okay. Anywhere where you can find a nice, comfortable seated position, it's great if you can find a place where you won't be disturbed or where you have limited distractions would be awesome. For some of us, that's not a possibility if there are, you know, kids running around or dogs or whatever. But finding a place where you can be comfortable and just taking a moment. A lot of times I like to even just take my right hand to my chest and my left hand on top, take a second to feel your heartbeat to come into where you are, and then start to set an intention to maybe focus on your breath. If it feels comfortable to close your eyes, then you can do so. I like to tell people to sit in an upright but not uptight position, you know, so awesome. Find something where they're comfortable. They can be leaning on a chair. You can also be lying down. And so taking a second to get yourself comfortable, and then just focusing on the exhales. Every time you take a big breath in and then feeling yourself breathe out. And every time your mind starts to wander, anytime you start to think about your laundry list of things to do, about the fact that you need to pick somebody up soon or whatever, then try to just come back to that feeling of the exhale, of the breath leaving the body.
Okay, awesome. So is there an amount of time that you should meditate, or how does a person know when they've gotten to their peaceful state?
Yeah, I think that if getting to know when you're at your peaceful state, if that was easier, then I think that would solve all of our problems. I think that's something we get better at the more that we get to know ourselves. Meditation and yoga, they're really just practices to help us get to know ourselves better. They help you figure out, when are you not at peace? When are you feeling like you could take a second to bring yourself back? When are you feeling like you're in high anxiety or stress? And so being able to tell when you're in those places becomes easier the more you practice, because it is a practice, it's a skill we develop. But as for time, when you're first starting out, 5 minutes can feel like a lifetime. And so if you just I like to set a timer, even though it feels like a lifetime, it's only 5 minutes, the timer will go off. I'm not going to be stuck here forever. But even just 3 to 5 minutes, and you'll start to build up over time if it's something that you enjoy. But 5 minutes can do a world of good.
Oh, that's great news. Sometimes I think people think they have to be doing it for hours or long stretches of time.
No.
You used the term mindfulness a minute ago. Can you explain to us a little bit more about what mindfulness really means?
Yeah, so mindfulness, the best definition that people use most frequently anyway, is just paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. Okay. And so that without judgment part is key. And so is the paying attention on purpose, right? Our minds are used to doing a lot of things at once. You're used to being able to sit down somewhere and then while you're sitting and having a conversation, thinking to yourself about everything else that you have left to do. Or you're in a meeting and you're thinking about your next meeting. That's something that our brains are really good at doing. But mindfulness is something that's asking us to practice to just be where we are. And when we're doing that through any type of practice, through meditation, through yoga, we're not avoiding the future or the past. We're just building a skill to help us do what we need to do where we are right now. We're not ruminating, we're not anticipating. And so that's really the idea, is to be able to practice being where you are with the people around you. And so it's really, it's again, not anything that's too out there.
And it doesn't sound like it's a real scary thing to do. So I appreciate you so much giving us information on meditation.
Yeah.
We'll be back after the commercial break to discuss yoga and its benefits. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion with Anna Bradley, a certified yoga instructor. Thanks again for joining us, Anna.
My pleasure.
This time we're going to talk about yoga. So can you start off by telling us how long yoga's been around?
Well, yoga's been around, some people say for 5,000 years, some studies say 10,000 years. It's been around for a very long time. And just like meditation, it really started to become popularized in the West, in places like the United States, in the 1960s and 70s, but it flourished for long before that.
Okay, so we talked about the benefits of meditation. So can you tell me a little bit more about the benefits of yoga?
A yoga practice is really beneficial for a lot of reasons, and I think the way to most easily sum that up is by saying it's great for aging in a healthful way. So all of us are aging, right? I am right now the oldest I have ever been, right?
Very good point.
Right, and so by having a well-rounded yoga practice, we can practice things like balance, we can maintain and improve our strength, our flexibility, our agility, and all of those have mental components as well, right? To be mentally strong, to be mentally balanced. And so those are the types of benefits that you can get. And in that way, it really helps us manage stress, and it really helps us figure out ways to practice a lot of things in the moment that we can then breathe through. So our yoga practice purposefully puts us in different positions to let us practice things like letting go, discomfort, courage, willpower. That's all stuff that happens during a yoga asana practice. Asana is the word for postures or poses. And so it's good for a lot of reasons. And I think that the best way to sum it up, like I said, is it's good for aging in a healthy way.
Okay, so it sounds like yoga is a lot more than just movement. Can you expand on what else is involved in it?
So a lot of times we describe yoga as a tree with 8 different branches. So The asana part, asana is that Sanskrit word for poses. Sanskrit's a language just like French or Spanish. That's the physical practice. But there are also different branches that deal with different ways to play with our breath, to help us practice controlled, deep, even breathing. When we're stressed, we tend to breathe just in the tops of our throats, just in the top of our chest. And so when we're practicing taking big, even breaths, cultivating our breath, then that can help us relax. There's also meditation is on that tree of yoga. Also just things like how we treat ourselves and how we interact with the world around us are spoken to a little bit on that yoga tree. Okay. So.
I'm finding myself doing a lot more deep breathing when you're talking, so even helpful to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different types of yoga styles, as I understand. Mm-hmm. Can you share a little bit about the different types with us?
Yeah, there are a lot of different types, and that can be something that can be overwhelming, I think, for a person when they're first getting interested in yoga. The first reason being that teachers are trained in lots of different ways, and we all use different words for different poses sometimes. One person might call something one thing, and you go to a new class and they call it something else. And so don't get too caught up on the vocabulary of those different changes in whatever lineage you're practicing. And I think it's also important that, there are some really powerful styles where you're working with your breath and it's really athletic and, maybe even in a heated environment. And there are also styles that are more restorative, which are kind of my favorite. That's what my practice has been a lot of lately, is just sort of laying myself down on some bolsters in my house and throwing my feet up the wall. It can be really relaxing. And both of those are yoga, right? And so finding the type that works for you is important.
Okay. And so you touched on that, being that there's so many different types of yoga. How would somebody who's just beginning try to figure out what is the best type for them?
I would say, for one, be patient. Don't get too frustrated. If you go to a class and the teacher doesn't quite mesh with you, if you feel like it wasn't quite the right fit, that doesn't mean that yoga is not the right fit for you. It just means that maybe you're looking for a different type of class. If you're the type of person who likes to move a lot, you might think that you would prefer an active flow class. That might not be true. You might find that really what's more balancing to you is a more restorative practice. So just experimenting and feeling free to dislike something and try again, I think, is important. Okay. If you have a yoga teacher in your community, it can be useful to talk to them, to say that you're interested, what you're looking for. Most yoga teachers really like to talk about yoga.
Awesome.
But the internet is really great. I know there's a lot of places in Montana where there might not just be a yoga teacher down the street. And so using your resources, just making sure that you find information that you think is credible. And so, if there's ever anything, I like to tell my students, take what you like and leave the rest. Take the stuff that serves you, and everything else just kind of put aside, right? It'll be there if you feel like coming back to it. Okay. So if there's anything that ever happens in a class or that someone suggests and you're like, that makes me feel really nervous, I'm uncomfortable with that, I don't want to do that position, then don't do it, and just kind of build up from there.
Okay. So for people who might be uncomfortable going out to a class or maybe can't leave their home for whatever reason, can yoga be practiced in the home? I know you said you throw down bolsters and throw your feet up on the wall. What can help those folks who can't get out? Yeah,
the internet is great. There's a lot of books. All of those things work really well. Again, I think it's making sure that you are being really conscious of what works best for you. If you have conditions like arthritis, for example, or high blood pressure, there can be some positions that aren't as good. So do your research and talk to your physicians. That's always a good idea. Even if you just have an injury, be mindful of like I took a spill down in Great Divide this weekend, and so my neck is kind of bothering me. And so I would do, not things that would bother that, right? Okay. And so just being aware of your limitations and how you feel, I think is really important.
And then just real quickly, do people have to wear special clothing or have special equipment to be doing yoga?
It can be helpful, and certainly if you're going to go to a class, it can be helpful to wear loose, comfortable clothing. The stuff that I'm going to demonstrate today, we're going to use chairs like these. I'm going to be in my jeans, and so you certainly can, and there's a lot of cool gear out there, and it's also not necessary.
Okay. Perfect information. Thank you very much. And that leads us into our next segment after the break. Anna will be back demonstrating some of our yoga and meditation techniques. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're now going to learn some of the basics of yoga from Anna Bradley, a certified yoga instructor. So Anna, take it away.
Thanks. You know, the first thing that I want to point out is that there's a lot of different tools that we can use to do yoga. Okay. So I brought some of them with me, and not all of these things are really required. They're good ideas, but you can kind of substitute with things around your house. Okay. So first we have yoga mats. Obviously you can get these pretty much anywhere lately. Okay. You want anything that's going to be a little bit sticky. And you'll also notice that it's not too thick. Sometimes what people sell are these thicker foam mats that slide around a lot. You want something where you feel like you have good traction. Okay. So I'm just going to put that off to the side. And then I also have here these big black pillows. They're called bolsters. And these can be really useful for a lot of reasons. And you can buy a bolster if you want, something in this shape. But you can also use couch cushions are often a really good alternative, or even just pillows off your bed. You can stack a couple of those up. Great. And the same with blocks. This is just a yoga block. Shoe boxes work really well, cereal boxes, things like that. Okay. So also just handy. These bring the ground a little closer to us, give us a little more space in our practice.
And they're lightweight, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, very lightweight.
Yeah.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to drop it on your feet.
No.
That really hurts,
yeah.
but you can. They are pretty lightweight. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do then is we're just going to start off doing a little bit of movement in the chair. And that's because everybody has chairs in their home, okay? So we're just going to start off by grounding the feet down and take a look, make sure that the ankles are right underneath of the knees. So we've got a good 90-degree angle. Okay. And here, the way I'm set up in this chair, I happen to be the right height so that my hips are a little bit above the knees. And that's perfect. Oh, okay. If you are not quite that way, then finding a different chair where you can adjust the height can be helpful, not that important. Okay. And I'm sitting right on the edge of the chair. So you have these two round bones at the bottom of your body that we call our sits bones, and those are kind of hooking you onto the chair. Okay. And then what we do is we start to reach the crown of the head up towards the ceiling so that we're sitting in this upright but not uptight position. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to practice a sun salutation, and we're going to do that by combining breath with movement. So I think it's important to remember that if you want to start practicing yoga in your house, if you can't remember when to breathe with what movement, it really doesn't matter. Just breathe and move, okay? So we work a lot on letting go of that idea that it needs to be perfect. We're just moving and breathing, okay? So go ahead and take an inhale and start to reach up, and you might lift the gaze. Palms can spin in, face each other, but if you have tight shoulders, then they can come a little wider, okay? They don't need to be straight up overhead. And then as you exhale, we're going to start to let the hands come to the knees, and I'm actually just going to base my forearms on the tops of my thigh bones and let the crown of my head start to hang towards the floor. And this is a really gentle, supported forward fold. If you start to feel really comfortable here, if you feel like you don't have any neck pain, if you don't have any blood pressure issues, things like that, then you can start to reach the hands down to the floor if you'd like, and that's where the block can come in handy. So I'll just show that here. If you have one in your house, then you can place your hands on that. So go ahead and take that. Okay. Perfect. Okay. And then from there, we're going to inhale, let the hands come back to the knees, and just pull the crown of the head to the space where the wall and ceiling come together. So we're finding a nice long spine here. We're at a bit of an angle, like the crown of the head is an extension straight from the collarbones. And as you exhale, find that forward fold again, either forearms on the knees or the hands on the block. And as you inhale, let the hands come back to the knees, start to lift with the head. We're coming all the way back up, reach the hands overhead. And as you exhale, let them pull back down through the center line. Nice, let's do that a couple more times together.
I did it.
You did do it. You did great. Okay. Inhale to reach up. And exhale to let the hands come down and find that forward fold. I'm just going to base on my forearms here. Inhale, we're going to find what we call that halfway lift. So we're starting to reach the crown of the head at that angle. And exhale to soften again. Inhaling to come all the way up, pressing down in the feet, reaching up high, and then exhaling to let the hands come back down through center. And that's a sun salutation, and you can just do those a handful of times. Okay. You can also do them standing. So let's go ahead and come up, and I'm going to turn my chair to face you. Okay. And get this mat out of the way. Okay, so a chair is a really helpful tool. Again, it just brings the ground a little closer to you. We can also use countertops, are about the same angle. And I think it's important to remember that you can be washing dishes and doing some of these poses, right?
Okay.
You can base on one foot and do a tree pose, bring the sole of your foot to the inside of your leg. You can do all kinds of different balancing poses from here. You can practice taking a hand up and both up. You can be brushing your teeth.
Oh,
right?
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
it doesn't have to be anything where you set aside this huge chunk of your day. If you can, then that's great.
Okay.
But if you can't, then that's fine too. So we're going to practice that sun salutation, but now standing with the chair.
Okay.
So go ahead and inhale to reach up. And exhale to let the hands come down. And I'm just going to step back a little bit, and I'm going to let my forehead come and rest on top of my hands. And again, if you're feeling really comfortable with a forward fold, then you can play with using the hands to support on the chair and letting the head come down a little bit further. It's just what you're comfortable with in your back. And then from there, we're going to find our halfway lift. So with an inhale, I'm just going to base the hands on my chair, pressing down, spreading through the fingers, and I'm going to start to reach the crown of the head through the collarbones. Taking another big breath in here, and exhale, go ahead and soften, maybe bend in the knees a little bit. And as we inhale, press down in the feet to come all the way back up again, reaching overhead. And let the hands come back down. Okay. Let's do that one more time through if we have time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale to bend in the knees a little and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to fold again. Inhale, press down in the feet, lead with the head as you come up. And exhale, the hands back to center. Do we have time for one more?
We have about 30 seconds left.
Okay, great. I'm just going to show one it's a really nice restorative pose.
Okay.
I'm going to use the bolster here.
Okay.
And so I won't make you get down on the floor. I'll just demonstrate this one for myself.
Perfect.
So taking a couple of pillows can be good too, but you can also do this with your back straight on the floor. And I'm just going to get my hips slightly lifted and put my legs up the chair. And you can also use a wall in your house for this. And this is a really great restful pose. It helps our blood pressure. A lot of good oxygenated blood gets to our heads and sends nice calming messages to our body.
Perfect. What a great way to end the segment. Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing and showing us how to do meditation and yoga.
My pleasure.
I hope our viewers at home have enjoyed this week's show. Until next week, stay fit, stay well, and stay healthy for life with Healthy Living for Life.
Healthy Living for Life is brought to you by Mountain Pacific Quality Health. We'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions for future programs, visit our website at mpqhf.org or call us at 406-443-4020. You can also catch us on YouTube by visiting our website and clicking on the YouTube icon. Special thanks to Fire Tower Coffee House and Roasters. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions.